Ms. Wyman, Mayor Satterthwaite.
Here. We have a quorum. First item on our agenda this evening is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, additions, or corrections to the minutes? Yes, Ms. Pat?
Thank you. On page 3, item C, after the naming of the resolution, it says Alderman Otto made a motion to adopt the resolution. Alderwoman Osler seconded. And I'm not sure which one of us that's supposed to be, but if one can find out, or I don't know that it really matters who seconded. We could say it's Pat, but it should be one of us.
We sleep through elections or something like that?
Yeah, this isn't even one of the old ones.
Okay, well,
Okay.
so were you substituting Pat for?
Pat, sure, let's do
okay. All right. Is there any objection to that change? Any other additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Any additions to the agenda this evening? Yes, Ms. Pat?
Thank you. Well, we can't make additions to the agenda, but I was just wondering if you could let council members know about the ordinance regarding maximum fines and pay-by-mail minimum fines.
Yeah.
The committee sent to tonight's council meeting.
Well, the committee did send it to a council meeting, and as luck would have it, Mr. Holtz was out of town for most of the week last week. We're unable to get the changes, since there were not only some changes to the numbers, but there would have to be some rewording to the ordinance as well. In addition, included in tonight's packet was a report from Chief Adair on the information that Ms. Wyman was asking for, and so thought if there's no objection from council members, if we bring that back on next week at the committee meeting, we can talk about Chief Adair's memo, and hopefully by that time we can have an ordinance written up for consideration and see if there are any more changes at that time. Is there any objection to doing that? Otherwise, we can just take it to the next council meeting if you don't want to hear it next week.
It's fine.
Go ahead and put it on next week's agenda then for the committee. That's why you don't see it on the committee as a whole report for today. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda? Old business. This was before us 2 weeks ago, and we had the public hearing on it just a few minutes ago. It's an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of an annexation agreement, 1501 North Lincoln Avenue, annexation agreement, approximately 2.71 acres on the southwest corner of Lincoln Avenue and Bradley Avenue. It was plan case number 1887-A-04 and 1887-M-04.
Thank you. I really don't have too much to add. There were a couple changes to the agreement that you last saw on April 19th. Council had requested staff put in some language about the underground storage tank infrastructure for the gas station. So that was added as Section 8 on page 3 of the agreement. And then also a section about best management practices, pretty much as we discussed at the last meeting. So that was added too. We also added a section on lighting, since that was discussed at the April 19th meeting, and there's some language that binds the developers to the type of lighting that they described at the last meeting, which should be a little better than what we normally see on gas stations. And then finally, the last change was the language on the liquor license. The license that is now allowed or would be made available will be a Class BBB license, which is packaged beer and wine only and no hard alcohol. So I can take questions on the changes, or of course the representatives of the developers here too, if we get too technical.
Any questions of Mr. Kowalski? Does everybody find the changes from what we discussed last week? Mm-hmm. Okay. If there are no questions, a motion would be in order.
I move approval with the changes that are so listed in the packet that we received.
Right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Chenoweth?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Huth? Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Ms. Pat?
Yes.
Ms. Wyman?
Yes.
Mayor Satterthwaite? Mayor Satterthwaite?
Oh, yes. That motion carries with 7 ayes. Next, we'll go to reports of standing committees. We have a report from the Committee of the Whole. Ms. Pat?
Thank you. The first item is ordinance number 2004-03035, an ordinance amending Chapter 14 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Urbana, Illinois, regarding the schedule of fees, July 1st, 2004 to June 30th, 2005. For the committee, I so move.
Second.
And this was sent from a committee on March 22nd. We have had the waiting period, the 45-day review period. Ron, Laura, anything to report?
Only other thing I was going to add is I did receive one comment from a Class A liquor license holder, called me and was questioning the increase, and we did go back over the cost 10 years ago, each of the last 10 years, and I did show him that it had only gone up by an inflation factor each of those 10 years, and I don't know if that satisfied him or not, but he didn't have any further comments after he reviewed that, so I didn't want to mention that. That's the only comments I heard.
Well, we have a motion. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Chenoweth?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Huth?
Yes.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Ms. Pat?
Yes.
Ms. Wyman?
Yes.
That motion carries with 6 ayes. Ms. Pat?
Thank you. Item B, also from a few meetings ago, resolution number 2004-04006R, a resolution approving the City of Urbana and Champaign-Urbana, Champaign County Home Consortium fiscal year 2004-2005 annual action plan. For the committee, I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, do we need a roll call on this? I think we do. We better have a roll call. Ms. Clark?
Ms. Chenoweth?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Huth?
Yes.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Ms. Pat?
Yes.
Ms. Wyman?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries with 6 ayes. Ms. Pat?
Item C, ordinance number 2004-04042, an ordinance approving a modification to the City of Urbana and Urbana, Champaign County 2003-2004 Annual Action Plan Amendment Number 2 and fiscal year 2002-2003 Annual Action Plan Amendment Number 3. For the committee, I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Chenoweth?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Huth? Ms. Huth?
Is this one of the ones I need to abstain on? I'm sorry, I was on your side.
Oh,
No, this is actually the previous year's annual action plan. But there might be something.
I'll abstain due to potential conflict of interest.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Ms. Pat?
Yes.
Ms. Wyman?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries with 5 ayes. Ms. Patton?
Item D, ordinance number 2004-04047, an ordinance annexing certain territory to the City of Urbana, approximately .72 acres on a tract located on the north side of Willowview Road, approximately 200 feet east of Cunningham Avenue. For the committee, I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Chenoweth?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Huth?
Yes.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Ms. Pat?
Yes.
Ms. Wyman?
Yes.
Ms. Pat,
Did I just skip one?
before you go any further, well, that passes with 6 ayes, by the way. Ms. Huth has asked for reconsideration of item B because she inadvertently voted on that when her organization is a potential funding from this ordinance. Is there any objection to reconsidering that?
No.
Just,
Move to reconsider.
Second.
We have a motion to reconsider. This is item B under the Committee of the Whole. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Chenoweth?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Huth?
Abstain.
Me too.
Mr. Otto?
Potential conflict of interest.
Yes.
Ms. Pat?
Yes.
Ms. Wyman?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries with 5 ayes, and Ms. Huth has abstained due to a conflict of interest. That brings us back to item E. Ms. Pat?
Thank you. Ordinance number 2004-04048, an ordinance amending Schedule H of Section 23-93 of the Urbana Local Traffic Code requiring stop signs at a certain intersection, Artesia Crossing at Behringer Circle, Rutherford Drive at Behringer Circle, Mark Trail at Philo Road, Greenwich Drive at Michigan Avenue. For the committee, I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Chenoweth?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Huth?
Yes.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Ms. Pat?
Yes.
Ms. Wyman?
Yes.
Motion carries with 6 ayes. Ms. Pat?
And the last item, F, resolution number 2004-04011R, resolution authorizing the temporary closure of Church Street between Orchard Street and Kohler Avenue to accommodate the Carl Hospital construction. For the committee, I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Ms. Pat?
The Committee of the Whole will meet next Monday, May 10th at 7:30 p.m. here at 400 South Vine Street.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have reports of special committees. Any special committee reports this evening? About reports of officers. Mr. Walden?
Mr. Mayor, I did provide council members tonight a proposed budget timetable. Let me just go over that. We are hoping by the end of this week to get the budgets to you in the packet. If not, we will hand deliver them this weekend. There'll be a press conference Monday afternoon with the mayor, as he does annually, to release the budget to the citizens and press. We have in our schedule a May 12th joint council township meeting on social service funding. On the May 17th, we'll do the PowerPoint presentation. We'll go over the entire budget with department heads. Won't be as lengthy as last year because there's not very many changes. Then we'll have on the 24th, we're scheduled for a public hearing and budget review. If we need to do so, we can have more review on June 7th, or we can approve it on June 7th. Our last date to approve the budget at a regular scheduled meeting would be June 21. I would note for you there is a fifth Monday if we need it. And then also, if we do not approve it on June 7th, we would have the committee meeting of June 14th. So I'd like any comments that you have on that schedule. And there are no Wednesday meetings. This is an attempt to do them all on Monday nights.
Yes, Ms. Pat?
Actually, there's one Wednesday meeting, and that's the Wednesday meeting a week from this Wednesday on the 12th.
With the joint meeting.
The
right.
joint meeting, right. You mentioned the fifth Monday in May. That's a holiday. That's a legal holiday for the city.
We'd have to
So,
extend it. Well, you'd have to pick a day, a different day.
yeah, we'd have to pick a different day.
If you need it.
Folks would just be mindful of that if anyone decides to pick another day.
Yeah.
Was there any objection to adopting this schedule? Yes, Ms. Wyman?
Just with the,
Well, tentatively adopting it.
right, with the understanding that the Wednesday, May 12th is a 7 p.m.?
That's 7?
7:30,
Okay.
yeah.
All the rest of those will be at our regular council meetings, which are 7:30, and the one a week from Wednesday would be at 7 o'clock.
That's my understanding, yes.
And then, of course, Mayor, as always, Ron and myself are available to answer any question that the council members may have after you receive the budget this weekend.
Yeah, don't drop a packet off my house.
Okay.
I'll get it on the 13th.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments about that budget? Okay, yes, Mr. Walden, additional
Also on your
reports?
desk, John is here to answer any questions. You do have the Economic Development Activities Report for the last month. Quite a bit of activity going on, and John is here to answer any questions you may have about what we're doing.
Yes, Ms. Chenoweth?
Yes, I was contacted by Laura Weiss over at the Chamber, and she was Chamber of Commerce, she was very pleased to hear from the city about our campaign to build downtown, and anticipates creating a story about it in the Commerce Connection, which comes out in the News Gazette. So I just wanted to make sure that we follow up with Laura about that and make sure that she gets the information that she needs for that. And then I had a question, which is what it says continued work with Public Works on the banner program, and I just wondered what the status of the banner program is. I know it's been a little slow to get off the ground, and I was recently in discussion with the UBA about what we're going to do with the banner program to try to spur that. So I just wondered what that particular line item referred to.
I think they're looking at the lineup for the banners that they're going to have for advertising and seeing who's going to be putting those up, and working with UBA to work on getting volunteers to help put those up.
Do we have additional banners being printed currently, or is it basically our stock of banners?
I think we've got a
year?
couple other designs that are being looked at to be printed to be issued
Okay,
as
so
well.
we will be printing new banners.
I
additional
think
banners.
there's some ideas to do some volunteers have had some ideas to do some different ones.
Okay.
Other comments or questions? Ms. Wyman?
I'm just wondering when the market at the square is beginning. Several people have asked.
May 15th?
May 15th. Thank you.
Hayes?
Yeah, this past weekend, I had a chance to talk to some of the directors of the Station Theater,
Yes, sir.
and they had a little concern that many communities help their arts programs, and a lot of times they put on plays and other kind of functions down there, get people from all over, everywhere, to come to the station, and either before performances or after performances, then the people who participated usually come downtown, to spend their money. So they was just wondering, was any way that the city could help the
Well,
Station Theater?
I think one thing, if they can give us some encapsulated information as to what's being presented and promoted at the theater, we can take and advance that onto UBA specifically. We've done this in the past to get the information out in a timely manner, and that way there's more information for people to see and attend the events. But we have done that once already, and if they could just send us that information routinely to give us an idea of the times and the productions that are being put on, we can get that into our press contacts.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on the economic development report?
Looks like you're busy.
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you, John. Mr. Walton, are you done with your report?
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Ms. Chenoweth?
Yeah, I just wanted to announce to the public that we're going to have our third ribbon cutting tomorrow. Third in, I think, the last month and a half. We've had a number of new restaurants open in downtown Urbana. Tang Dynasty, Siam Terrace, and Crane Alley, which opened as a bar last fall, but until very recently was working on a brand new kitchen. They now have their kitchen installed, and they have just started to serve dinner, which is delicious, by the way. The cheesecake is to die for. And they are open and serving lunch starting at 11 a.m. As of very recently, there's a ribbon cutting tomorrow, Tuesday, at 4 p.m. Crane Alley is located across from the Cinema Arts Gallery at 115 West Main Street, and the public is invited to both come to the ribbon cutting and to come eat lunch at Crane Alley.
Any other reports of officers? Yes. Ms. Pat?
I just wanted to add, I had dinner at Crane Alley, and the food is outstanding. I strongly recommend that people go there.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Thanks. Any further reports of officers? Okay, well, we'll move on to new business then. First, we have an ordinance approving a major variance, allow a rear yard setback reduction from 10 feet to 5 feet in the B3 General Business Zoning District. This is at 1701 South Philo Road. Was ZBA case number 04-MAJ-1. Michaela, did you want to take the first two together? They related? The next one is an ordinance approving a major variance to allow a side yard setback reduction from 10 feet to 5 feet in the B3 General Business Zoning District. Should that be 1701 again, right? 1701 South Philo Road, ZBA case number 04-MAJ-2. Michaela?
Thank you. Yes, both of these requests are related to 1701 South Philo Road, and that property is located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Florida and Philo Road in Urbana. The petitioner is planning some improvements on the site and plans on building a new convenience store, gas station at that site. It's currently vacant. And he is requesting these variances so that he can tuck his new building in the southwest corner of that lot, essentially. At the April 28th Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, the ZBA cited their findings for the recommendation, and those are outlined in your staff memo. That both of these variances would improve the vehicle circulation on the lot, and that they should not detract from the essential character of the neighborhood. Just to summarize those, we'll need to have a motion for each one of these requests. You have the option for the rear side yard, the rear setback from 10 feet to 5 feet. You can grant the variance. You can grant the variance with certain terms and conditions, or to deny the variance request. The Zoning Board of Appeals voted 6-0 for the City Council with a recommendation for approval to allow the petitioner to reduce the rear yard setback with the condition that the petitioner generally conform with the site plan submitted. And for ZBA case 4 Major 2, which pertains to the side yard setback, the City Council has the same following options. And the Zoning Board of Appeals also voted 6-0 with a recommendation for approval to reduce side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet with the condition that the improvements conform to the general site plan. And staff will take any questions.
Okay, any questions on either of these two? Or questions? Well, let's take them one at a time. First is item 1, the rear yard setback. Can I get a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Chenoweth?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes? Ms. Huth? Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Ms. Pat?
Yes.
Ms. Wyman?
Yes.
Motion carries with 6 ayes. And next would be for the side yard setback at 1701 South Philo Road. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Chenoweth?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes? Ms. Huth?
Yes.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Ms. Pat?
Yes.
Ms. Wyman?
Yes.
Motion carries with 6 ayes. And we have an ordinance approving a major variance, allow a side yard setback reduction from 5 feet to 2 feet 8 inches in the R3 single and 2 family residential zoning district at 705 East Park Street. This was ZBA case number 04-MAJ-3. Bell?
This case is a request for a reduction in the side yard width on a property at 705 East Park Street. It's in a residential neighborhood consisting mostly of single-family homes. In this particular neighborhood, all the lots are relatively small, and in this particular lot, the house is located in the center of it, which makes it difficult for them to add onto their garage without encroaching into the side yard setback. In this particular zone, the R3 single and 2 family residential district, side yard requirements are for a 5-foot setback. The petitioner is requesting a reduction in setback to 2 feet 8 inches, which is a 45% side yard setback reduction. That makes it a major variance. At the April 28th meeting, the ZBA cited findings and approved of the requested variance. Their findings were summarized in the memo that you have. Essentially, that they stated that the practical difficulty related to the location of the house on the lot, and that the need for the variance had not yet been created, that the petitioner was aware of the requirements, that reducing the side yard setback would not detract from the essential character of the neighborhood, and that the variance would not cause a nuisance to adjacent property. The City Council has the options in the case to grant the variance as requested, to grant the variance subject to terms and conditions, or to deny the variance request. The Zoning Board of Appeals voted 6-0 to recommend approval for the case, with the condition that the construction would generally conform to the submitted site plan. And staff concurs with the ZBA and recommends that the City Council grant the variance as requested.
Are there any questions? Not, a motion would be in order.
I move approval consistent with the ZBA and staff recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Chenoweth?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes? Ms. Huth?
Yes.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Ms. Pat?
Yes.
Ms. Wyman?
Yes.
Motion carries with 6 ayes. And finally tonight, we have veto of an ordinance redistricting, that should be redistricting, the wards of the city of Urbana, Illinois. Mr. Holtz looked up the process for a veto. I think we've put a memo on your desk tonight. The way that works for our form of government is that the council would pass it at one meeting, which was 2 weeks ago. The veto delivered at another meeting, the next regular meeting, which would be tonight, and then the council would entertain the override or the override of the veto at the meeting 2 weeks from tonight. Is that understanding of the council members? Okay. And just have a couple changes in the veto message from what was in your packet, just clearing up a couple of typos and awkward wording in a couple of places. Yeah. I have vetoed an ordinance redistricting the wards of the city of Urbana, Illinois. So it's ordinance number 2004-04-043, and I'm returning it to the council unsigned, together with my written objections, which you received tonight and also in the council package. And I'll go ahead and read those objections into the record. I am vetoing an ordinance redistricting the wards of the city of Urbana, Illinois for several reasons. First, the new map draws virtually all the active residential subdivisions into Ward 6, which will result in a population imbalance between the wards in the near future. Second, the new map concentrates areas that have traditionally had a high voter turnout in municipal elections into Ward 6, and in doing so creates a sprawling, tortured boundary for Ward 6. In crafting a new ward map for the city of Urbana that reflects the constitutional standards of fairness and equality, several criteria should be used. In my mind, the most important of these criteria is that all wards have a similar population and the projected population growth be spread between the wards. By including the most active residential subdivisions, including Savannah Green, Stone Creek, Fairway Estates, Eagle Ridge, South Ridge 5, Behringer Commons, and Sunny Estates in Urbana into Ward 6, the new map will create a problem similar to the one that exists today, in which Ward 6 has a much higher population than the other ward. Right now, Ward 6 has 6,758 residents, and it has a population 25% higher than the next most populous ward, which is Ward 7, that has 5,403 residents. It has a population that is 58% higher than Ward 4, which has a population of only 4,283. This growth in population has been to the fact, because of the fact that the growth has been largely in the existing Ward 6. Although I understand that we must use the 2000 census figures to provide a framework for redistricting, it is irresponsible in my mind to ignore our residential construction statistics that show that in 2002 and 2003, 301 or 91% of the 332 single-family homes built in Urbana are in Ward 6 as it is drawn in the new map. We can go to this. Let's see. You can tell the subdivisions that I mentioned, Behringer Commons is here, Fairway Estates, Eagle Ridge, Sunny Estates will be right here. South Ridge 5 is by Deerfield Trails. Stone Creek in this area, Savannah Green over here. You can see all of those are in existing Ward 6 and in the proposed Ward 6. What I've got up here is the ward map that has been passed by the Urbana City Council. So 91% of the single-family homes built in Urbana in the last 2 years are in Ward 6. In addition, Ward 6 includes 62 or 27% of the 226 multifamily units that have been built in those years. When you total all the residential construction in Ward 6, Ward 6 has 363 units of the total 558 built in the city. That's 65% of all the new housing units. If you take an average of 2.25 residents per household, this new construction represents 817 new residents in Ward 6 and only 439 in the other 6 wards combined. If this growth in the other 6 wards were to be spread evenly, the result would be 73 residents per ward, which is less than 1/10 of the growth of that in Ward 6. Numbers like this show how quickly this new map will be out of compliance with generally accepted population guidelines in drawing maps. Another important criterion in drawing a new ward map should be that ward boundaries be aligned with established geographic boundaries, such as collector and arterial streets wherever it is practical. Supporters of the new ward map have drawn the boundary of Ward 6 in such a way as to include as many high turnout and they believe high Republican areas of the city as possible. The result is to have Ward 6 stretch from Behringer Commons in the north to Deerfield Trails and the Wheatfield Park neighborhood on the south in such a sprawling manner that would make any gerrymandering politician proud. And you can take a look at the proposed, or the Ward 6 in the map that was passed, and compare that to the map that I had proposed and see the difference in the boundary. It's quite a visual difference, and one that is shown here as being very compact and contiguous as to the one that was passed with its very convoluted boundary. In an effort to reduce the population but not the voter turnout of Ward 6, supporters of the new map carefully carved out the Scottswood subdivision, that's this finger going from Ward 5 into Ward 6, near Washington and Learman, and the Sunnycrest Apartments, that's this orange block right here jutting into Ward 6. near Thomas Paine School, knowing that turnout in municipal elections from these areas is low. Included in Ward 6 are areas that supporters of the new map believe to be high turnout and high Republican neighborhoods in municipal elections. These include not only precincts 19 and 20, with the exception of Scottswood, that's this area, which are in the core of Ward 6, but also Behringer Commons, and Behringer Commons is way up here in the north part of Ward 6, and the western part of Precinct 23, and that is this block here, the area bounded by Philo, Windsor, Anderson, and McHenry. And these, those additions contribute to the tortured nature of the Ward 6 boundary in the new map. By concentrating as many high voter turnout areas in Ward 6 as they can, the supporters of the new map are trying to dilute the voice of the residents in Ward 6 in a way that violates the spirit of the one man, one vote principle, even if it satisfies legal requirements. I'm aware that the map-making process is a political one. However, we Democrats are in a strong enough position in Urbana that we don't need to resort to trickery in the map-making process to retain a majority on the Urbana City Council. We already enjoy a 6-to-1 margin over the Republicans. We should be willing to go into the next city election running on the strength of our record, our ideas, and our candidates, not on the strength of our map-making abilities. Lastly, I believe that consideration should be given to incumbent council members who desire to run for re-election in 2005. For this reason, I do not support a map that will draw 2 incumbent council members into the same ward without their agreement to do so. The map passed by the council would put council members Laura Huth and Milton Otto in the same ward. Voters in Urbana have indicated their support for both of these council members in the last municipal election. Ms. Huth won election in her ward, Ward 5, with 64% of the vote. She received 475 votes. Mr. Otto won the election in Ward 7 with 58% of the vote, and he received 773 votes. In recent months, Mr. Otto has been looking for a home in Urbana for himself and his fiancée. He expects to be married in the fall. With his current ward being split in 2, he finds that he currently represents significant portions of 2 wards in the proposed map, Wards 4 and 7. The home Mr. Otto has found is across the street from Ward 4, just inside Ward 5, the ward Ms. Huth represents. Mr. Otto's request to be drawn into Ward 4 is not an unreasonable one. He merely wants to represent the people who voted him into office in the previous election while living in a home that he and his future wife found to be the best in the market for their needs. It's my hope that the council will uphold my veto and begin the process of adopting a map that will be fair politically and geographically and respect the reasonable requests of incumbent council members who may wish to continue serving Urbana citizens on the Urbana City Council. I want to thank the council in advance for your consideration. Again, with that, I present my objections to the ordinance redistricting the wards of the city of Urbana. You'll have 2 weeks to consider those objections, and it'll be on the agenda for your consideration 2 weeks from tonight on May 17th. Any questions? Yes, Ms. Wyman?
I have a couple questions. One is an issue if there's discussion on this item of the agenda, and after you answer that question, then I have a follow-up.
Well, since the motion to either sustain or override would not be in order until next meeting, it's a little awkward to have discussion on it at this point. If you have any questions, I'd certainly be happy to answer them. But it's, unless you really have a desire to discuss it now, we would certainly not be able to entertain a motion to discuss it at this point. I mean, the statute pretty clearly says that we entertain or have action on the veto at the next meeting. Well, if there are no further questions, there's nothing else to come before us tonight, and we stand adjourned.